Hi everyone, my name is Michael, and I'm just a Kansas boy. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video about the Sami people, the natives of northern Scandinavia, and the reason I'm doing that is because on my last video, I learned about the history of Finland, and a lot of you were commenting, and there were so many things that were really interesting, and I decided, you know what? I wanted to go deeper and learn a bit more, and so here I am. Now, I don't know much of anything about this group other than what was in the last video, and I don't know much about this video creator either. I haven't seen any of their videos before, so we're just going to dive in and see what it's like, and I'm going to be learning right alongside you. Please jump in the comments with insights or anything that you want to say, even corrections if that's necessary. So let's dive in together and learn more about the Sami.
When you think of the Nordic countries, what countries come to your head? Probably Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, maybe even Estonia if you're so inclined. After seeing the title, you now know of the Sami people, who are indigenous to the northern part of Scandinavia. There is a lot to be said about the Sami, despite their isolation from the rest of Europe through most Scandinavia.
Hang on, what
You now
did that
know
say?
of the Sami people, who are indigenous.
This projection is not quite accurate for where the Sami live. Their geography is a bit weird, so this is the general area. Okay, got it.
To the northern part of Scandinavia. There is a lot to be said about the Sami, despite their isolation from the rest of Europe through most of their history. Today, I will explain who these people are, how they originated, and a little bit about their culture and languages.
Oh, wait, hang on. I love these colorized historical images because it really just kind of drives home how real this history is. Huh. I love that. And look, even those knit caps that they have don't look too much different from what we've got today. I wonder how old this photograph is. I may have to look that up.
Explain who these people are, how they originated, and a little bit about their culture and languages. I also want to let you guys know that I'll be doing a 600 subscriber mock election special, so you guys should look out for that in the next few weeks. Anyway,
Nice.
I cannot give a full and accurate explanation of the Sami with at least giving a little bit of context on where they are today. Being the indigenous inhabitants of northern Fennoscandia, they number around 70,000 in the region and 80,000 globally. Most live in Norway, which has a Sami population of around 40,000, while Sweden with 20,000, Finland with 6,000, and Russia with 2,000 have much the rest of their population.
Yeah, it makes sense that that would be a very low populated area so far north. And I have relatives who live in North Dakota, and I know that's not really comparable to this region, I'm sure. But it's the further north you go, the fewer people there are.
Russian Republic of Karelia and Murmansk Oblast have virtually all the Sami people living in Russia. Many Sami languages have gone virtually extinct, breaking the dialects continuum that once existed between the languages. Going back in time a little bit, the Sami languages are usually classified as being part of the Uralic group, which includes Finnish, Estonian, Hungarian, and several other languages in the northwestern part of Russia. Within the Uralic languages, the Sami languages normally are considered to have their own branch, but are considered to be closer to other Finnic languages than the Ugric languages like Hungarian or Samoyedic languages of northern Russia. Though there are some disputes about where the Sami people originated, it is usually inferred that they originated in the same location as their linguistic ancestors did. Despite this, there is much genetic difference among Sami people, and they are sometimes considered to be heterogeneous, with their culture being a way of life defined by nomadism and reindeer herding rather than a homogeneous.
Slight dramatization. Yes, I'm sure it is.
Their culture being a way of life defined by nomadism and reindeer herding rather than a homogeneous ethnic group. In their early history, it is obvious that.
So basically he's saying, I'll go back a little bit. Basically he's saying that they're grouped together mainly because of the way that they lived, correct? I think.
Reindeer herding rather than a homogeneous ethnic group. In their early history, it is obvious that they had contacts with other ethno-linguistic groups, including the Balto-Slavic, Germanic, and even Iranic words being borrowed into the Sami languages. They have also been recorded in Roman historical accounts, if you can believe it, and were described as semi-nomadic reindeer hunters. Interestingly enough, one of the most notable cultural traits of the Sami is their economy of reindeer herding, common amongst other Arctic cultures. Anyways, in German historical texts, they were often grouped with the Finns, not an uncommon thing to do amongst early European historians. And once again, the connection between the Sami and the reindeer was noted. In the beginning.
So for those of you who are watching who are from Finland, is that a very strong part of your culture and your history? Is that really emphasized, the Sami people, or is it not so much? I'm curious.
Beginning of the 1000s AD, the Sami began to have contact with the Scandinavians, specifically the Norwegians and Swedes, who tried to assimilate them into their nations, especially in the matter of religion. The Sami, like nearly all European cultures, followed a local form of paganism before converting to Christianity. Throughout most of their time under the Nordic states, and also Russia later on, the use of the Sami languages was discouraged and often forbidden, and their nomadic ways became virtually non-existent, as today almost all Sami live in permanent housing. Despite this, reindeer herding still maintains a small part of the Sami economy.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. It's sad to see cultures like that are suppressed, and I know that happens all over the place, all over the world in history. But just think of the history and culture that's lost in the process. But it's so neat that they still do the reindeer herding.
Permanent housing. Despite this, reindeer herding still maintains a small part of the Sami economy. Beginning in the 20th century, the Nordic countries were more willing to let the Sami practice their cultural traditions, most notably allowing them to speak their languages, which are now used in many schools where Sami attend. I mentioned that before the Christian assimilation of the Sami, they had their own pagan practices, which were quite unique. The Sami worldview was mainly animistic and shamanistic, with one of the most notable customs that still continues today is being respectful to all aspects of nature, which they believe to have souls. Christianity really had a profound effect on the worldview of the Sami, as they were not aware of the concept of organized religion, and many of their ancient practices were deemed as satanic by medieval priests who encountered them, including their beliefs in future-telling shamans called Noaidi. Such practices were common amongst shamanistic cultures in the Arctic and Siberia. The Sami spiritual practices are still unique among European Christian cultures, as most have almost completely abandoned their ancient ways, though the Sami still incorporate some of those elements in their way of life. The Sami language...
I wonder what some of those elements are. It would be interesting because you notice how in a lot of cultures where another religion comes in and takes over, for lack of a better word, there's still elements of... Whoops, I'm still getting used to this microphone stand. There's still elements of the original culture that tend to seep up from underneath, as far as I can tell. And so it's really interesting how you kind of get these different flavors of major religions in different parts of the world. So I would like to learn more about the uniqueness of this area.
Though the Sami still incorporate some of those elements in their way of life. The Sami languages are spoken by around 35,000 of the 70,000 ethnic population, and the languages, which there is not a clear number of due to there not being a clear line between dialect and language, are generally similar, though not always mutually intelligible, though it is unclear what exactly the Proto-Uralic language that the Sami...
That's amazing if you think about it. There's a kind of unknown number of the languages, and that means there's probably only several thousand people that maybe speak one or the other dialect that may not be intelligible to some of the other people. That's not a lot of people, and it's amazing and so cool that they're keeping that alive. I know I'm pausing a lot, but this has a lot of really interesting stuff. I love it.
Sami and other Uralic people spoke originally. The Sami language's closest relatives are usually considered to be Finnish and Estonian and other Baltic Finnic languages. Despite their languages not being quite as spoken today, they are still present within schools in their homelands, which encourage their use to revitalize them. The Sami have lived on the edge of Europe for their entire history, but despite this, they have developed a culture with many unique traits, even in the modern day. Their language and culture are not closely resembled by any other ethnic group, and it is a rather interesting one that deserves more recognition. Thank you all for watching. We've finally reached 600 subscribers, so thank you all for your support. As I climb towards 1,000, please continue to like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to never miss a new video from this channel. Again, watch out for that election special that'll be coming out in the next few weeks. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody, we're back, and I really loved that video. It was so interesting, and I love how they're still keeping that culture alive and actually going back to saving the languages and all of that. So I learned so much from it, and I actually paused the video and wrote down a bunch of questions here. Yes, I know. And so, for those of you who are watching in the comments, if I've got a couple questions, if you know where I can find some of this information. So first of all, I'm kind of stuck on the reindeer herding because that's a really unique thing, and I remember doing a report on that, something similar to that in grade school, I think. But I'm curious, how important is reindeer herding right now in the northern parts of Scandinavia? Is it still something? Is it something that's pretty rare, or is it one of those things like, oh yeah, you drive through and you see them all over the place, and everybody knows someone who's a reindeer herder, something like that? Also, are there a lot of people that live in the northern areas other than the Sami, or do they live side by side? Are they pretty integrated? The way they were talking about how they have separate schools and kind of reviving their languages, it makes it seem like they're somewhat separated, but I'm not sure what that looks like. So I'm curious about that. Also, do we know much about their history? There was a little bit here, but there wasn't a lot. And it seems like they were pretty isolated, fairly isolated for most of their history. So is it a mystery? Do we not know much? And, oh, yeah, the photos. So I really loved those photos, but they were very few, maybe, what, four pictures? And so I would love to see more. I don't know if you have, if your countries have a cultural website or historical websites where they have lots of photos like that. That would be awesome. I'd love to hear that. So if you know of that, please put those in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to share. And again, I learned so much in the last video. I do have one favor to ask you. If you're watching in Finnish or Swedish or Norwegian, the subtitles in Finnish, Swedish, or Norwegian, I'm trying a couple of different translation apps to translate the subtitles. And so I'm hoping you can tell me when they're really good, when they're not good, and I can start comparing them to figure out which one translates the best. So let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget to stay curious and learn something new every day. Bye.